Hey, it's Tay with Mom on the Spectrum, and today we're talking about boundaries and how they can help us avoid autistic meltdowns and shutdowns. Boundaries can be a scary word. A lot of people are very uncomfortable with boundaries. Setting boundaries is maybe one of the most important things for your relationships and for your relationship with yourself. Women a lot of times are raised to be nurturers, caregivers, to take care of everybody's needs, which can be a really wonderful thing, but a lot of times it's at the expense of the self. I'm learning that not setting boundaries in combination with autism, it's a really, really challenging combination that can oftentimes result in burnout, meltdowns, shutdowns, all of the above. What are meltdowns versus shutdowns? Different people have different definitions. For me, an autistic meltdown is when I'm not listening to my sensory needs and I keep going and keep going and keep going until I get so frustrated that I just start feeling kind of panicky, I get really irritable, and it's almost just like kind of this wall of silence comes over me and I'm just kind of done. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do anything. My mood seems to have changed really quick to the people around me. So for me, a meltdown is a result of me not listening to my sensory cues when things are too loud or I've been too busy. I've been in social situations too much. A shutdown is when I push past the meltdown and wear myself out to the point that I have to have some serious recovery time. A shutdown can happen for me if I'm not sleeping very well and I just keep running on fumes and I don't recharge. Eventually, it leads to a shutdown where I just want to cancel everything on my calendar. So for me, a meltdown versus a shutdown. A meltdown is shorter, shutdown is longer. The meltdown is usually for me more so a result of sensory overwhelm that I didn't respond quick enough to. A shutdown is more of kind of like an overall power down. I've realized that setting boundaries is crucial for avoiding meltdowns and shutdowns. One relationship that I'm really learning how to foster, maybe for the first time in my life, is my relationship with myself, which might sound kind of weird or cheesy, but think about this. If you don't feel safe with yourself, like if you don't feel you can trust yourself to only put yourself in environments where you feel safe and protected, then where else are you going to feel safe? If you don't trust yourself to set a boundary, let's say your friends are having a party and it's a loud party and there's some people there who make you uncomfortable and you don't feel like you can say no. What you're telling yourself is, I'm going to put you in a situation where you feel uncomfortable or you feel overwhelmed and I'm not really going to give you an option other than to go. Think about the relationship that you have with yourself and the things that you make yourself do without considering what you really need. It's especially hard for people on the spectrum, for females on the spectrum who have gotten used to social cues and social routines in order to make other people feel seen and appreciated. It's almost we go on autopilot and think about what we can do to make the other person feel seen. And so a lot of times that means saying yes when we'd rather say no. But I want to challenge that idea and just say that our body knows a whole lot more than we think it does. And when we start paying attention to those really subtle clues about being overwhelmed, or those subtle clues about when we need downtime or when we need to say no to a social activity or no to taking on an extra project at work, being able to listen to that and not talk yourself out of that need. Hannah Gadsby has a great line I'm going to have to find. To paraphrase Hannah Gadsby, she kept trying to find a way to start at the normal starting line. And she realized one day that there was no way she would ever start at the normal starting line because that wasn't her starting line. She says it better, a little differently than I did, but the gist is, once we realize that we don't have to say yes to as many social engagements as other people do, we don't have to say yes to as many different work-related functions as other people do. And I think the sooner that we can accept that our starting line of normal is different than others, it gives us a lot more freedom and flexibility to be able to define the things that we say yes to. And that's where it gets really fun. You can start saying yes to the things that you want more of in your life. What I'm finding is that I actually have a whole lot more power than I realized I did to shape and sculpt my life. It just means that I have to say no more often than I used to. And at first I was very scared of that word. You may have heard the phrase no is a complete sentence. That's very true. And that idea was scary to me, but I've since gotten a lot of practice in saying it. A word is very empowering. You don't have to have an excuse for why you say no. You don't have to have good reason. Sometimes your reason internally could just be that you need to chill on the couch and watch Netflix. Like, I think that's a great reason, especially for an autistic person who might have had a big day, might have sensory overwhelm, and the best way that you can show yourself care and love is to lay on the couch or take a bath. And so you say no to a party, even if it's a once a year party, whatever. You don't have to have a reason, and no is a really great response. And we can work on saying it with kindness and respect, but just work on saying it in general, because I think it's so, so important. I've noticed this in my life where I'll have a plan and I'm noticing that I can handle way fewer social events than I thought originally. I follow Alexandra Pearson on TikTok sometimes. I think she had said in one of her videos that she limits herself to 1 social engagement a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. As a mom, I think it's really hard to stick to that because we also have social engagements for our kids. It complicates things. Since I heard her say that and be brave in saying 1 social engagement a week, I too have kind of considered, okay, like maybe just having 1 thing on the calendar is all that I need to have on the calendar. And that's been really liberating for me. But let's say I have a plan on the calendar and that day is crazy. I didn't sleep well the night before. I forgot to eat lunch. I'm irritable. Forgot to eat lunch. I don't forget to eat lunch. Different example. The kids woke up on the wrong side of the bed and it's just been a hard day. It's totally within my power and my choice to say no to the event. So I think just kind of waking up to that idea that you do have power over what you give your energy to. And I think that's especially important for autistic people to realize, because we especially have to be careful about how we manage our energy. So much of our energy, I think, goes towards navigating the ins and outs of our daily routine and daily social interactions that we really might need to conserve more energy than other people. Brene Brown has this quote. I think she said she actually heard it somewhere else years earlier before she used it, but she says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. She said, I saw the data about how most of us avoid clarity because we tell ourselves that we're being kind, when what we're actually doing is being unkind and unfair. I feel like I can relate to that on the flip side, and maybe this is an autistic thing too, but when someone is clear with me about what they want, that is a gift. That helps me know exactly what's required of me or expected of me. It helps me plan. It helps me kind of mentally figure out my responsibilities. So if we can flip that and realize, okay, when we are clear, we're being kind to the other person as well. 2 really great resources that I want to share with you on boundaries. Number 1, it's the book called Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. It's been around forever. You will probably, if you're a used bookstore person like me, you'll probably find an amazingly outdated cover. There's so many editions of it. Or you can get it on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description. Boundaries is a great book, and I think that it should almost be required reading for being a human. Second, if you are on social media, Nedra Glover Tawwab. Nedra is a therapist who has an amazing social media presence. Here's something from one of her Instagram posts. Signs that you need boundaries. You feel overwhelmed. You feel resentment towards other people asking for your help. You feel burnout. You frequently daydream about dropping everything and disappearing, and you have no time for yourself. She's phenomenal, and she just released her first book, I believe. She is like the boundary queen. So if you're interested in this concept, there's actually so much to it. There's strategies for setting boundaries. There's communication guides, because a lot of times you might find that relationships are tricky to navigate with boundaries because people don't like it when you set them. Be warned that people will be upset if you set boundaries, but it's just like riding a bike. You practice it and it gets easier and easier and easier, and you start realizing, hey, why did I ever feel like I was responsible for managing other people's feelings? So I just want to let you know that you can practice it, you can get better at it. And I feel like I show up so much better for myself and for the people around me when I know that I have enough energy to do what I'm there to do. So if I say yes to a social engagement and I'm paying attention to my sensory cues and needs and it feels like a good thing to do, whenever I'm there, I'm going to be present and I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to be more myself, because I know that I can trust myself to take care of myself and to remove myself from a situation when it becomes too overwhelming. So I want to leave you with that. Take care of yourself, foster the relationship that you have with yourself by helping yourself be able to trust that you're going to take care of your needs. I would bet that you might notice a decrease in your meltdowns and your shutdowns over time. Like I said, it is a practice. It does take time. It does take patience. It does take giving yourself a lot of grace to figure out how to do this the best way for yourself. You might say some things that upset other people. That doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong necessarily. It just means setting boundaries is a skill that requires some time and effort, but is highly, highly worth it. I will leave the links to the resources that I shared in the description. If you could subscribe to my channel, that would be amazing. That's the best way to help me continue creating free content for you, which I love doing. Subscribing is free, and all it means is that you'll be updated anytime that I post a video. All right, keep being weird, own your neurodiversity, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.